I would like to call this meeting to order for the public schools of Robeson County, February 11th, 2025. Brother Richard. First, we will have a moment of silence. But before we have the moment of silence, I would like to say Miss Crystal Wandell, she's on virtual. Also, before we have the moment of silence, I want to remember some death. We had some death of some students, and the schools that were impacted was Union Chapel, Red Springs High School, and Red Springs Middle School. Also, remember the Graham family. Coach Danny Graham recently passed away. He was a long-term teacher and a coach at Lumberton High School. So let's have a moment of silence for them. Thank you. Now we have the Pledge of Allegiance by Rosenwald Beta Club. Come on up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before you, okay.
I am Kyrie Whitted, and I'm 4th grade. I'm Alana Hunt, 4th grade.
I'm Alasia Nichols, 4th grade.
I'm Isabella Strickland, 4th grade.
I'm Addison Fielder, 4th grade.
I'm Jade Johnson, 4th grade.
I'm Edward Jenkins, 4th grade.
I'm Shania Hoppy, 4th grade teacher.
Thank you. Mr. Craig Lowry.
Thank you, Chairman Leach. I talked to somebody else, might be done since then, but I talked to Mr. Brewer, Mr. Henry Brewer's daughter at the end of last week, and he was coming home, she said at that time, and haven't talked to him since then, but she has said he has been in right much pain and still under doctor's care.
Thank you for the update, Mr. Craig. Now we have adoption of the agenda. A motion has been made to adopt the agenda by Mr. John Simmons. Second been made by Ms. Melissa Ocean. All in favor? All opposed? Approval of open session minutes. Motion been made by Ms. Melissa Ocean to approve the open session minutes. A second been made by Mr. Craig Lowry. All in favor? All opposed? All right. Now we were going to have information items. Black History Month by Mr. Jamal Campbell.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, and our entire school board. As you know, February has been designated as Black History Month. During this time, we celebrate the culture, traditions, and contributions made by African Americans, and we recognize the impact of those contributions to our society. Throughout the month of February, there will be a variety of observances and programs held in our schools in honor of Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Next, we have placement of DEQ activity buses by Mr. Robert Guzman, Dr. Robert Guzman, I'm sorry.
Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, board members. First and foremost, before I get started with the DEQ, I would like to remind everybody that this is Love the Bus Month as well as Bus Driver Appreciation Week. So please, during this time frame, reach out to the bus drivers while you're at school. They are the first and last face that our students see, and oftentimes are not given the credit for the impact that they make on students. Especially they get to start their day with that bus driver and end their day with the bus driver. So that bus driver has a very impactful job when it comes to our students that is often missed and goes unnoticed. So please, when you're out in the schools, especially this week as well as this month, please reach out to the bus drivers. Thank you. With the DEQ, we are able to, within this next week, be able to finalize and put out the last 2 buses for our DEQ grant. We are able to finalize that hopefully within this next week to push those out to the districts. What we are also doing is, since we also saw a need within the middle schools, we are shifting 5 of our yellow buses will be changed out of park status that has already been approved by DPI and be changed over into activity buses. Those will roll out at the end of the at the end of the month due to the fact of our aging bus fleet for activity buses. Please remember that those are local vehicles, and some of those buses that are still on the road at some of these middle schools and high schools were back in 1996. I'm going to date myself. That's the year I graduated from high school. And so, there's some buses that need to come off. The unfortunate part is that through the DEQ, we were able to procure 4 activity buses that we normally would not have been able to. Just a sense of reminder, back in 2023, an activity bus cost around $132,462. Right now, a current cost of an activity bus is $161,441. And so those activity buses can be expensive to go through. Those are local expenditures. As I would like to remind everybody, our 056 funds for transportation cannot go to repairs on those buses. And so those have to be absorbed through other local funding.
That's it. Any questions? I got Dr. Emmanuel, then Mr. Trey Britt.
For clarification, so I'll be smart, what does DEQ mean?
Department of Environmental Quality. What they are doing is they are actually putting out grant money to ensure that we are being cleaner out there with our buses as well as other vehicles. There is a major push for electric vehicles. However, we were able to, in the early stages of this grant, to be able to get through clean diesel. We were applied for 5 bus replacements and was actually awarded 4.
I'm smart now, okay.
Mr. Trey Britt.
Dr. Guzman, a couple questions. Number one is, what schools are these buses going to?
All of these are getting shifted over to the high schools and within the district so that the high schools could be able to use. What we also did, we're able to shift the assets of the 3 remaining buses that were at the 74, 76 fleet to get them to the high schools as well. So that will be culminating at the end of this week so that all the high schools will have access to a brand new bus through the DEQ.
What about the 5 that you said you're going to?
Those are mainly going to the middle schools because of the aging fleet of those middle schools. It's harder for the middle schools because if you remember, sir, during this time frame, those were all local expenditures that the middle schools ended up purchasing. It actually just costs us a couple of stickers and manpower to change those over due to the fact that there are no regulations for those buses to be painted white. Basically, it's changing over some of the systems on the bus, changing the governor, changing it from school bus to that fact to be able to utilize that. Now, what the downside of that is by utilizing those parked buses, we take them out of service, meaning we don't get to replenish those buses. However, what we've been able to do is if our current fleet has about 238 route buses, 10 parked buses, and 13 buses for credit. So we're sitting pretty well with what our fleet looks like. And the parked buses we're able to use if we expand, meaning those are buses that may not have a driver or may not have availability for a bus route within a school district. And what we're able to utilize those is for also for spares that we also have within our fleet. So we're sitting pretty well. This also had to be run by Department of Public Instruction so that we're not misappropriating or changing and hurting our fleet for the future. The 13 buses that are bus credit, sir, those are buses that are out within the state that if we do expand past our means and needed to go ask the state for those 13 buses, we will be able to procure those from the state. They won't be brand new buses, but they'll be parked buses from other districts within the state.
2 more questions. First one is, as far as the service maintenance on these buses, I know the individual school has to absorb the cost. Did they keep record of it when the oil needs to be changed, that sort of thing? or do
No,
you-
sir, those activity buses fall under our regulations to have to do a 30-day inspection. So that's a pretty much set cost each month. Now, the unfortunate part is, as with anything, as we all know, the price of eggs have gone up, and so has the price of parts, as you heard about what the buses go through, and also salaries commensurate with moving forward. Right now, at $27 an hour is what a mechanic working on an activity bus charges, or what we have to charge to remunerate that back, because remember, they're paid out of 056 funds for they're supposed to be working on white or yellow fleet buses. However, the problem is that come July 1, this next fiscal year, that monetary value jumps up to 31. We try to keep everything in-house to do that because it is eventually comes out a little bit cheaper for us to be able to go through. But as far as inspections and everything, those buses are also inspected, just like our yellow buses, every 30 days.
So those buses get audited by DOT, or is that done in-house?
Done in-house through all of our, at one point, when we were fully staffed, all of our mechanics were certified for bus inspection. We're got 3 new people that are waiting to go through class to be able to inspect. But under North Carolina general statute, we have to every 30 days inspect not only our yellow buses, but our white, or those activity buses as well. Other states do different. I can tell you Georgia, the Highway Patrol, the Motor Carrier Division inspects their buses.
Mr. Craig?
Dr. Guzman, just real quick, because it comes up periodically, remind us again about the, 13, 15 activity buses that's at the bus garage and why they have to stay there.
Yep. Those buses were actually overheard a conversation during COVID to be able to expand our fleet. We were able to expand our fleet by 15 buses. Those buses are paid with federal grant money that was used during that time frame to expand the availability for those buses for all students within the county. Therefore, they cannot be assigned to a specific school. They are to be used especially for those that don't have them, like the elementary schools and other places. We've been fortunate to be able to, with those 15, to be able to provide those hidden curriculums, as well as those secondary avenues for those students to be able to go on field trips, beta club conventions, and other things that students wouldn't be able to. Just to put this in the back of your mind, before we got here and actually expanded that fleet using those ESSER funds for that 15, we would have only had 3 activity buses at the 7476 warehouse that were going to be able to be utilized for the district. So just imagine if we didn't have those 15 with that federal funding for what we need for this whole district, we'd be quite a pinch for extracurriculars and other things that we'd be doing.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
For clarification, Dr. Guzman, and maybe off the top of your head, I'm putting you on the spot. Which middle schools are getting those buses? Can I ask you that right off the hand? Those 5, I guess, refurbished ones?
Sure.
Which ones are getting them?
One is going to Hilly Branch for their use to be able to use for CTE purposes, especially during the summer, as well as other things that they do during the school year, because that'll help alleviate the weight of the 15 to be able to pull them. Pembroke Middle, St. Paul's Middle, Orem, and Lumberton Junior. That only leaves about 2 other buses that we were really worried about within the district. And based on what we see for our bus numbers, as far as what next year looks like, we will might be able to do the same thing and to pull 2 park buses to be able to put them into the fold, because it's hard with $161,000 for an activity bus.
Correct.
It's hard to find that extra funding to be able to do that.
Thank you, sir.
That's it. All right. Thank you, Dr. Guzman. Next, we have our cybersecurity grant by Mr. Everett Till.
Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, fellow board members. As you see up here on the board, we were lucky to be awarded over $1 million for our cybersecurity pilot program. As you look on the next page, you can flip to the next one, Ms. Cole. You will see the schools that were awarded this initiative in the state of North Carolina. It was only 17. This was highly competitive for those who applied. A lot of school districts did not apply because they felt like they didn't have a chance at this money. But needless to say, we took the initiative and went forward and was awarded these monies. Our initial goal right now is $1 million, but that could be dwindled down to less if we don't prove the application, what we're looking for. This money has to be spent over the next 3 years. But with that being said, there were 2,374 applicants, totaled over $3.7 billion that asked for this money, but the federal government narrowed that down to 707 applicants. So you can see how competitive this money was for us to be able to bring to the public schools of Robeson County to help improve our current conditions that we have in the school system, both internal and external threats when it comes to cybersecurity. Also, I'd like to bring to y'all attention, since 1998, what T-Rate has done for the public schools of Robeson County, we have received over $59 million, close to $60 million to help us with certain initiatives. That's from wireless access points you see inside this building, servers, switches, but most importantly, they have switched their initiative to primarily providing internet connectivity to the school system, not with just us, but nationwide. But that is the primary initiative right now. So we're have gotten away from servers because they said that's not a part of the total mission for the federal communication system. But that's my story right now, sticking to it. But we're glad right now to get over $1 million for the public schools of Robeson County. Any questions?
Yes, we got one question, Dr. Emmanuel.
Congratulations, Mr. Teal, for your desire to get money for a system. I have a question, and it's something that we are doing in the past. I'm just curious. Do you have funds to replace Chromebooks or whatever for students that, you know, some of them are lost and some of them are damaged? Just hearing principals talk, quite naturally, if we loan Chromebooks to children, we're going to lose some. I guess my question is, do you have a fund each year to replace lost Chromebooks or needed new Chromebooks?
At this time, I don't, but that would be a question for Ms. Erica. Right now, I maintain a certain number down in the warehouse for testing and all the other stuff that's coming up. So if there are so many out for repairs, I should be able to plug in that gap. But that's only a small Band-Aid as we move forward to the future. But I think right now, Ms. Erica is putting a plan together for us for our 4th-year cycle. Right now, we have a 5-year cycle, less than what Esther gave us for the first 3 years. So the other 4 years, the 4th year and 4th year and 5th year, that would be something that the central office is going to have to help us with as far as reappropriating monies for that.
Well, I guess, and this might be a superintendent question, is there some kind of survey you guys do at the end of the year or any time to see if principals need Chromebooks, or do they pick up the cost, or how does that work?
Yes, there is a survey, and then the accounting of each unit, where that unit is placed by schools for that. Our plan is, and I mentioned it before, is try to enter into a lease purchase agreement to upgrade our units.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any more questions?
Thank you, and congratulations again, Mr. Teal.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we will have the class of 1960 donation, W.H. Knuckles, Lumberton Jr., Dr. Thomas Sutherland.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Williamson. We, the 5 of us who are here tonight from the J.H. Habler class of 1960, we are honored to be here. As on this year, we are celebrating the 65th year of our graduation from high school. And over the past 18 years, we've been making contributions to each of the schools in Lumberton. And this year, given the COVID and age and other factors, we are going to close out our account, and we wanted to make one final contribution to the school board, public schools of Robeson County, and we want to make a donation to the Lumberton Junior High football program. We want to make that a contribution of $700, and to the W.H. Knuckles Elementary School for student needs, we want to make a contribution of $2,032.12. And we do this with great joy and pride, knowing that the importance of education and how blessed we were to have had help when we were in school. And so now we want to give back as we closing out our account, and we're closing it out by giving it to the public schools of Robeson County. These two checks, to whom do I give these checks?
Let me ask those principals to.
Madam Principal, bless you. Madam Steele, bless you.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
Get a picture of all of them. Come on.
Yes, sir. I used to go. Yes, sir.
Thank you. We're blessed. We're blessed. We're blessed. Thank you, Madam. I'm told. He's running from us. He wants people to think he's young. He wants the people to think he's young when we are. He's hiding.
Wait a minute, Monsieur, can we see you? You right now. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you. And I'll be in touch with you to see what we can do in the future. And your name?
Jermaine Watson.
Bless you. You're local?
Well, yeah, I've been here 20 years.
Oh, okay.
May we extend an invitation to anyone else of the group to speak if you desire to do so? Anyone? Good, great.
Next on the list will be policy 2335, advanced delivery of meeting materials. Dr. Freddie Williamson.
Mr. Chairman and board members, you have at your site policy code 2335. Our request, and we have it on the information, is to align our policy with our practice. So the strike through on this policy is to strike through 4 work days, and it would simply read at least 4 days, that being Friday, Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday. And we present it as information. Any questions?
Ms. Christie Fields.
My question would be, the board meetings are scheduled the same every month, so it's no surprise when the board meetings are going to be. Why would you ask board members to give up their Saturday and Sunday to look over the agenda items when the agenda can just be given to us on Wednesday and could be emailed, which would reduce trying to run packets down to us on Friday afternoon before we start our weekend?
Yeah, our concern and issue is we cannot control when we receive certain informations. And so in order to eliminate giving you information in the current meeting, it is our ask that it goes out on Friday as been the practice of that, but so that you don't receive multiple pieces of information during the board meeting.
So we can't set deadlines for when information can be turned in
That's-
before the meetings?
That's external information. Part of it is budget that we don't have any control over.
Put your mic on. Put your mic on. Dr. Emmanuel.
I just want to say something, and this is not directly to Ms. Fields, it's directed to everybody. I've worked on both sides, and it's very difficult to bring a close to an agenda when you're waiting on, if you're doing something for the county commissioners, or you're doing something for XYZ, you waiting on them, you at their mercy. So it's very difficult to even get an agenda ready with 3 days notice, 5 days notice. And so, and to avoid having to come and added things at last minute, it's hard to get an agenda ready. And I have to take up for the central office because it's working there. It's hard to do. And I know we've even chased down couriers to try to add stuff into it when they're on the road. So I have to understand where they're coming from about the days with the agenda, because it's a hard thing to get it together. It really is.
Mr. Terry?
If we could get our board meeting materials in an electronic format, I wouldn't be as concerned about striking out the work days as I am with striking out the work days and modifying the policy the way it is and getting all this stuff on paper. And even with getting it on paper on Fridays, we still get here and we still have a lot of stuff. We on our at our stations when we get here that we have to, catch up on sometimes here at the last minute. I would, if I'm just looking here at the bottom of this proposed policy, it says that this was adopted on December the 10th, 2010. So in 15 years, our practice has never matched our policy. For those who have that historical lens, is that we're saying for the last 15 years, we've always got materials on the Friday rather than the Wednesday as the policy states? If that's the case, then it's a very interesting dynamic, I would say.
Mr. Curry?
Mr. Terry, I understand what you were saying there, and I guess this might be a way to make those things match. But being at the central office myself for a little while, it's not always easy to get things. You think you're going to get something and somebody else comes in with another sheet of paper. And one of the biggest things that I would say would happen there is principals are told like when to turn in recommendations. And but you got somebody, you get interviewed and you didn't get the recommendation down there in time. And that's why I name a lot of times Mr. Jamal, he comes here and adds a list. And I think that's who we usually get a list from, because they've got somebody now they want to get hired. So we're getting a last minute thing there. Now, and I've said this before, I know this is the way we've got them on Fridays. I've been here 8 years, and I think it was that way before then, but I know getting my packet was on Friday. And now this is just me personally, nothing against anyone. I get it on Friday, and for me, and I know I'm retired, but for me, that's plenty of time. And I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for no one else. And I have my procedure that I do, and for my 2 cents, when I get them, I'm able to look at them. I throw it to the side, and I probably hit it again Sunday night or sometime later on after I've had the first look. But 4 days, if it's 4 work days, 4 days period for me is that's sufficient time. And I really believe even if it is if we go 4 days and say you got to have them Wednesday, I still think you might not get as much, but you're still going to come here on a Tuesday night board meeting and there's going to be stuff added. Again, it might not be as much material, but something is going to come up that needs to be added, as in lieu of having to meet again. And I will go back and say years ago, the school board met twice a month. And those meetings were very long, which it got scaled down to once a month. And most of the time we get in and out, and because of information given, we can take care of it. And then if we have to call meetings, we call meetings, but I won't say anything else.
Mrs. Trey Britt?
And, I can sit in here thinking about it, I can see both sides to it, but at the same exact time, there's got to be some give and take somewhere down the line. And I understand both sides of it, but the 4 days is not going to be a problem.
No.
I'm asking, I do this, can I go ahead and move it to an action item? If I make the motion to an action item?
If you make a motion, you can.
Let's put it out there, make a motion to action item. Let's go move it.
A motion being made by Mrs. Trey Britt to add this to action item. A second being made by Mr. John Simmons, and Ms. Krista Fields got a question.
So if we have this emailed to us, even if we have items to come up, can't we make a motion to adopt those items to the agenda, even if they don't get submitted in a timely manner? Because I understand that things can't always be submitted in a timely manner. I understand that. So why can't it just be emailed, the packet be emailed to us if we're going to change that time frame? And if additional items come up, we can just have those emailed to us and put it on the agenda to adopt it.
I don't know, but we already have a motion and a second on the floor. So we already have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
This requires 2/3 vote of members present.
Yes. All in favor? We want to show by raising hands. All in favor? We're voting to add the 4 days to move it to the action item.
The vote hasn't been counted. You can make a motion to amend the motion that's on the floor if you desire. But right before the vote, anytime before the vote.
Yeah, and tell them what about. I'm sorry, hold on. I'm sorry, Dr. Mann. I'm sorry.
I make a motion that we go with the 4 days. However, if it comes up that they can't meet the 4 days, if the chair and the superintendent agree that they see that they can't, that they email us and let us know that there's extenuating circumstances, they can't get it out, that we go with that amendment. That they have to get, they only can get it out in 3 days. Give them some leeway.
All right.
May I seek some clarification on that?
Yes, sir.
The policy change that's recommended is to change from 4 working days to 4 calendar days.
Yes, sir.
Which is the current practice.
All right, now, so my amendment is null and void. I don't need that. Okay, how do I put that in there though? If I change from 3 to 4, how do I put that in there? If I'm changing it from going back to 3, I'm the superintendent and the board chair, and I want to go back to 3 because I can't get it ready in 4. How do I do that? I understand what you said, but I guess what I'm doing, I'm muddying the water. I'm trying to give the superintendent and the chair some leeway where they can
If you can't get
change
it,
it.
if we can't get it in 4 days,
Yeah.
if we can't get it in 4 days, what if it come to you late, a day late or something? You want to get the
Yes.
superintendent and the chair the authority.
Exactly,
to
that's what
say-
I'm trying to
You want to get the
say.
superintendent and the chair the authority to say, we can't get it out to you in 4 days, it'll be here in 3 days.
So that motion would be out of order. The current motion that's on the floor is to move this to an action item.
Okay, good.
If that motion passes and it's an action item, then it would be in order to consider what the actual changes to the policy might be.
All right, so I'll shut up for now, right? So, yeah,
For now, we got a motion.
I would never tell you that.
you can, I don't care.
We do have, I think we spent a lot of time, we do have a motion and a second on the floor to change this, to change the policy to 4 working, to move it to an action item, so we can vote on it, yeah or nay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
All right,
All opposed? All right, ayes have it. So it's action, we're gonna move it to action item.
That
And
passes
That
6-3, 7-3, 7-2.
Yep, 7-2. And I'm gonna move it to
Is
action.
Crystal online?
Yes, Crystal online. Crystal,
Yes, I'm here.
all right. Did you vote? What's your,
I agree to move it to an action item.
all right, thank you. So 8.
Got it.
And I will move this to, right after the EC contract amendments, right after that. All right, thank you, Dr. Wisher.
Do you want to move it to the finance? Yep.
So I got to move it all the way to the end.
Move it to that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's gonna be moved after the financial report. Next, we will have the school calendar, 2025 school calendar by Mr. No, I'm sorry, public comments. I skipped over, I'm sorry. We have public comments and we have Ms. Bonnie Rogers.
Good afternoon. So I'm excited to be here to invite the cabinet, Board of Education members, along with high school admin, to an event that we have planned for our high school seniors for this upcoming year. So the event is entitled Project Salvation. The date is scheduled for March the 28th, 2025, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Robeson County Fairground. So the event has been sponsored by various community members, various businesses and churches within our county. So we see this as a wonderful opportunity for our community to foster a relationship with our students as they are transitioning from the high school out into the workforce and adulthood. The event is going to be completely free for the district and for our students. So we would really like you to come out and to see what our students are doing and to see them outside of the regular academic classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Now, I'm sorry, next we have 2025-26 school calendar by Mr. Bobby Lightner.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Superintendent Dr. Williamson, board members. So it's once again time to present and ask for approval for our 25-26 school calendar. So very briefly, I will run through our current school calendar law as it exists in North Carolina today. So our start date must always be the Monday closest to August the 26th. The closest, we cannot end school later than the Friday closest to June 11th. There are no educational waivers currently in the state for opening and closing dates. We must cover 9 calendar months, and number 5 is very important, and that's why I've highlighted that in red. Each calendar must have one or two things. One must be a minimum of 185 days or 1,025 hours. Since this law came into effect, we've always operated in creating a calendar that has a minimum of 1,025 hours. The law also states that we must have a minimum of 9 teacher work days, 2 days that teachers can take off, a minimum of 10 annual leave vacation days, and the same number of days that are approved by the State Personnel Commission. We cannot go to school on Sunday, and Veterans Day must be a holiday for our district. So that is the current school law or that we follow to create our calendar. So Cole, this is our calendar committee's recommendation for the 25-26 school year. We follow all requirements of the law are met within this calendar. So to tell you who was on the committee, we had a total of 4 principals. We had teacher, NCA, RAE rep, teacher of the year, NCA, RAE rep, and various central office employees. So one of the things, as I've been doing this for many years, is just always inform folks that teachers get paid to work 215 days. So that the calendar, we kind of start within those parameters. So we would ask teachers to come to work on August the 19th. All of our holidays are highlighted in what is going to look like a hot pink. October the 8th would be a half-day instructional day. We've incorporated those into our calendar for several years, and we feel that these are very beneficial to staff to have either professional training or schedule parent conferences. We would end our first semester on January the 16th. That last week or the week of the 12th through the 16th, the state requires all EOCs or state mandated exams to take place the final 5 days of the semester. So we would see that our students will return back after Christmas break, have a total of 5 days before we would get into testing. We go down, next major holiday would be Easter, and we can see that it would fall early in 26. We keep scrolling down. We would end school on June 9th. Graduation will be proposed on June 12th. We've had conversations with high school principals about a turnaround in graduation between the time of June 9th and June 12th. And there are no issues here. We've done this in the past with that kind of turnaround. So our instructional days, first semester or first 9 weeks, we would have 42 instructional days. Second 9 weeks, we would have 46. Third, we would have 40. And the last one would be 49, which would give us a total of 177 instructional days from beginning to end. First semester with high school would have 88 instructional days. Second semester would have 89. We run an instructional day of 375 minutes. This is to ensure that we meet the 1,025 hours, but more importantly, this also allows us to accumulate what we call bank time. In instances like we just had with the snow, we have enough bank time to cover that time for students so that they do not have to make that up. In our opinion, that is very beneficial to extend the day by 10, 15 minutes to ensure if we have 3 or 4 days that we may be out of school, we're not scrambling like we were many years ago, trying to figure out how we're going to make up time. Another benefit we realized through our work some time back was we feel it's very beneficial to have a day in each month where the teacher could possibly take a day off and or students are separated from schools. So if you kind of look at the calendar, you're going to see that there's at least one day in every month students are not in our buildings. But this is the traditional calendar, and we also included early college in there as well. Early college is given some flexibility because they align with our community college. And again, everything within their calendar falls within the parameters of the law.
Mr. Chair.
All right, I got Mr. Terry, then you.
Mr. Bobby, I'm looking at Cumberland County's calendar that they voted on back in December for next year. They start on, students start August 25th. The end of their first semester, or they take exams, December 19th is the end of that grading period. And the last day of students for school is on May 22nd. And they have, X number of work days and those sorts of days that you mentioned built in. So how are they able to take exams before Christmas?
Yes, so, excuse me, they have decided to shorten their first semester. So that would put them at about 75, 77 instructional days. We have done that in the past, and we did not believe that that was beneficial for us. Mm-hmm. So once you look at it, if we were to implement that the way this current calendar is designed, our first semester would only be 78 days. Take 5 away for end of course testing. That puts us at 73. We also have to do ACT, pre-ACT in that as well. So now you're down into 60 instructional days. And then let's all be honest about school. We have homecoming Every school has a homecoming week in there. So again, there are a lot of factors that go into making that decision to schedule exams prior to. And I've shared this with many folks before, many years ago in my other life when I was in accountability, and that switch was made between having the ability to start school early in August, and they pushed the start date back, and we tested before Christmas. There was no change in test scores between those two years.
Have teachers, have all teachers, all principals, every staff member involved in instruction, have they had an opportunity to comment on our current calendar, or to respond to some type of survey asking them, I would like to see the answer to some questions, something like, if we were able to take exams before Christmas, would you be willing to do X? You know, all of the things that you mentioned would cause us to lose out on the number of days in that first semester. Have we surveyed the instructional leaders and teachers to ask them that question?
We have not. Our policy does not require us to reach out to teachers. Our policy simply says we draw together a committee. And again, we always include a teacher on that committee. We had 2 teachers this year, and we also include various principals depending upon who the principal of the year is. We switch back and forth between high school. We always have a high school principal. And then we also have, depending upon who the principal of the year is, 2 middle or 2 elementary.
If we operate on the principle
Mr.
of,
Terry.
let me just say this real quick.
No, Mr. Terry. She's been, you to ask 4 straight questions. Dr. Lydia Manning had her hand up. Let her talk. You asked 4 straight questions in a row.
We can do better than
Mr. Terry.
the minimum, which is what the policy says. Thank you.
Based on the board policy, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt this calendar.
And I'm sorry, Chairman Leach, we need to adopt both calendars.
But the early
recommendation,
college and
early
the
college
public,
and traditional.
the early college and the public schools of Robeson County calendar, I make a motion that we adopt both calendars.
All right, a motion being on the table by Ms. Linda Mayer. Do we got a second? A second by Mr. Craig Lyra. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so we got, you oppose? Opposed? Got 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. All right, and it said we got it. Ms. Monroe, Ms. Monroe? Are you opposing or you accepting the school calendar? No, she's not.
I'm sorry, I oppose. I was hitting the wrong button.
She opposed? All right, who's for it? For the school calendar? For the school calendar? All right. And you opposing it? Who opposed? 1, 2, 3. You opposing it too? Okay.
Oh, no, I don't oppose, I'm for it.
Yeah. Can we get a show of hands?
Our policy requires that we record split votes in the minutes as to who voted for what. So this is who's opposed?
Yes.
It's Ms. Fields, Mr. Simmons. Okay, let's see. Okay. And Ms. Monroe is opposed, right?
Yep, she said she opposed.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we'll have to come back again next month for the school calendar. It's not, I mean.
Mr. Chair, if I
Go
may,
ahead.
please. As superintendent now, as Bobby stated, we are not going to recommend a 50-day semester. We can't do that. That kind of imbalance create a problem. To test before Christmas, we would ask you to violate the testing law. I'm not going to do that. Systems that crossed that line and violated the testing policy, they got a letter from DPI in reference to that funding. There's absolutely no evidence that testing before or after Christmas changes the outcomes. None whatsoever. But in clear conscience, I cannot recommend that we approve a calendar with the semesters out of balance. We can't do that.
That's true.
All right, so we do have another motion on it, so both of them up for early college.
You want me to make the motion again?
Yes,
I
for
make
early
a
college.
motion that we adopt the calendar for the early college.
All right, a motion been made by Dr. Lenny Main for to accept the calendar for early college. A second being made by Ms. Craig Lowry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right,
You get Ms. Monroe?
Ms. Monroe?
I agree with the early college.
That's unanimous.
That's
10-0.
unanimous, yes. All right,
May I make a statement?
yes.
It is almost unfair to ask the superintendent to go against what is recommended by the state. I understand teachers' passion. I do understand it. But you're asking them to do something that's ethically not right. And I can't support that. And I agree with him totally. So I know what teachers want. I know what, maybe we've got one principal that may be vying for it.
Yes.
But you've got your principals that say, except for one, I understand, that we can't do that. So it's convenient for teachers. I know that. I understand it. But I totally support the superintendent. We have to do what's right.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to the, one more comment? All right. Mr. Cray? Hold on, I'm sorry. I think a lot of people got their mics on, huh?
Well, I also agree with violating, but we're locked in to what Mr. Bobby said of when we can start and when we have to end. And I think you're doing a disservice to children if you test before Christmas and they've only got 70 or 75 days in that class. And then after Christmas, they're going to have 100 days. Those kids that have that short period of time, that's not as fair to them as those kids that's having the full length of time. And we're in this situation now because of partly with the state saying you can't start school before. Now, when we were back, when we could start August 2nd or 3rd, it divided out that you could do the exams before Christmas and there's no problem. But now if there's a system that's testing before Christmas, that's on a calendar like we are, I question, do they have a balanced number of days? And I just don't think they do. And that's the part of it that I don't like. I think it should be the same. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna have Mr. Trey, then we're gonna move on.
I had my button pushed, Dr. Mann, before you made the motion. I was gonna be upfront and honest, the reason why I was voting no to it. And I've debated it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've debated it, but I knew this was coming up before we got our agenda. I weren't sure it was gonna be this month or next month. During that time period, I have reached out to the various teachers at the high school level that I know, that I'm friends with as well. I want their honest opinion, and I got some good feedback as well. But just being upfront, approximately 12. I couldn't find the one that wanted it after Christmas. And I got to sitting there thinking, me, in my position, without the teachers, we don't have a school system. And I made the thing that I was doing what the teachers wanted, and that's what I'm gonna stand on. My question is this. I'm asking the school board attorney, where do we stand on this, and what does the law state? That way we can hear it from you on if for, after, what it go.
The calendar law doesn't speak to whether you have exams before or after Christmas. It only speaks to the starting days, the ending days, the days you can't have school like Veterans Day and Sundays, the number of hours you have to have total in the year, and or the number of school days you have to have. So those are the parameters. If you could, you've got different options. You can have a short first semester and a longer second semester. That's acceptable with exams coming before Christmas, but it packs an awful lot into that first semester. One thing you could do with instructional hours would be, for example, if you had, you've got, I think your current school day is based on 375 minutes per day. That's 6 hours and 15 minutes. You've got an option there. If you wanted to, you could make an 8-hour school day in the first semester. There are things that you can do, but they all have pluses and minuses that have to be considered and factored into from a lot of different standpoints, as Mr. Bobby explained.
All right. And here's my thing. When I was a teacher at Lumberton, we'd get an email that basically gave us an option, if you understand what I'm saying, and we voted. But from what I've gathered, I don't know if that's changed since I've drifted out of teaching or what, or is that just a Lumberton High School thing that done? But I actually felt like I had a voice then of voting, but now it's just, here it is, approve it, and they have no say. And I can't go around.
Yes, we got that.
Point one thing out. There are some school systems that do that or have done that. One of the problems with that is if you get a vote all in favor of, overwhelming in favor of one type of calendar, and then the board votes for a different type of calendar, you got another issue there. And sometimes people will vote in favor of something that you really can't accomplish.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Bobby, on our process, once you met with the calendar committee, you then sent the calendars to the principals.
No, they were not shared. The principals that were on the calendar committee were asked to reach out to their respective co-workers and get any additional feedback. That's why with this particular calendar, it was important to have that conversation with the high school principals on the tail end about graduation. And if I can, just a couple of points. So to Mr. Trey's point, our policy did change. And so that's why the policy no longer requires us to have that vote from school personnel. So that's why there has been a change over the last couple of years in reaching out. But in my experience, as Dr. Williams has stated, in my experience with doing the survey, as Mr. Swartz has also stated, majority of the responses from the staff says, why can't you start school the first week of August when the law was clearly included in that survey? Majority of the responses are, you need to start school early, and we just simply can't.
I think we need to have a curriculum committee meeting before our next meeting where we can hash these issues out.
All right, next on the agenda, we will have North Carolina DOT Lumberton Senior High easement by Mr. Bobby Locklear.
Good evening again, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, board members. So DOT representative reached out to me. There was an error in their original survey of the property along Link Hall Road. They are not taking additional physical property. They are asking permission for additional easement. So the compensation for that will be $26,030. Within your packet, I've included a survey of that additional easement that runs along Link Hall. And so we're asking for approval for that tonight. And if you're ever by Lumberton High and you want to see how far the easement moves over, I asked them to go out and place wooden stakes along the edge of the parking lot there where the additional space is coming in.
Do we got a motion to approve the easement?
And I'm sorry, Chairman Leach, our attorney has reviewed this as well and has granted a stamp of approval.
A motion being made by Mr. John Simmons to approve the North Carolina DOT Lumberton Senior High easement. A second being made by Ms. Christie Fields. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All ayes. Unanimous, yes. Thank you, Mr. Bobby.
Thank you.
Next, we will have summer tested by Ms. Cynthia Lewis.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Superintendent Williamson, and board members. It's the time of year that we begin planning for summer testing. So we have in your packet, you've received 2 different summer test plans. One is for 3-8 EOGs and Math 1 grade 8. The other is for high school EOCs. We wanted to split those up this year due to high schools not getting English 2 scores back in time to be able to remediate and create or have a summer test. So we've backed up the dates on the high school summer testing plan. Grades 3-8 plans begins June 9th with 3 days remediation and then 2 test days on June 11th and 12th. The high school plan begins June 16th for 3 days of remediation and 2 days of testing on June 19th and 20th. We are recommending that on the 19th that English 2 test that day, the first day of testing, so that we can get back English 2 scores, because that is a process, a 5 to 7 day business process to get those back. So with
Dr. Emmanuel?
I make a motion that we approve these test dates. That the 3-8 and the high school, do I need to do it separately?
It can be done in one motion if you desire.
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve 3-8 and also the high school testing schedules for the summer.
A motion being on the floor to approve the high school test, 3-8 and the high school summer testing. Second being made by Ms. Melissa Ocean. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes, got it.
Thank you.
Unanimous, yeah. All right, now we have declare, thank you, Ms. Cynthia, thank you, Ms. Lewis. Next, we will declare Green Grove surplus by Dr. Freddie Williamson.
Yes, Mr. Chair and board members, last month we shared with you a request from President Singler to transfer Green Grove Elementary School to the community college. And so tonight, if that is the board desire, we have to declare that as surplus property, and that is my request for a motion to do so.
Ms. Melissa Ocean. A motion being made by Ms. Melissa Ocean and a second being to make Green Grove property surplus. A second being made by Mr. Linda Emanuel. And with the attorney, Mr. Attorney, have you crossed all the i's, dotted all the t's? I know there was a big question. I said we wanted to, if we wanted the property back or we need it back. I know there was a big question last time with that.
This is not, this, to be clear, is not transferring the property to anyone.
Okay.
This is the beginning the process that
Right,
would
gotcha.
allow you to transfer it
Okay.
by declaring it surplus in the first place, after which you would have to go through a process of deciding where it goes or if it goes to anybody.
All right. Mr. Craig Lyer. Yeah, my sorry.
Okay, well, Mr. Swartz, with what Mr. Vontae was asking then, that question would be answered
Yeah,
at that time
yes.
later on.
Correct. That's a
Okay.
question to be dealt with later on.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
We got a motion on it. We got a motion in the second on the table. We had a motion by Ms. Melissa Ocean, a second by Dr. Emmanuel. All in favor? All opposed? Ayes, got it.
10-0.
Great, thank you.
All right. Now we would have the EC contract amendments by Dr. Wendy Dorsey Carr and Ms. Tracy Hunt. Just you? All right. Dr. Wendy Dorsey Carr.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, and board members. Tonight, we're asking for a technical update on a amendment for speech services with one of our companies. You should have a copy of the amendment in your packet, and so we're seeking approval for this amendment.
All right, Ms. Melissa Ocean. And then we're gonna have Ms. Melissa Ocean.
Dr. Carr, can you break it down to us and tell us what this large increase?
So one service provider could no longer provide us services, and so we had to move those services to a new service provider. So they're taking on a different, additional 2 schools so that they can provide those services.
And so for 3,600 and that much for services for 2
Yes,
schools?
yes.
Yeah.
Contracted services that, and That is always an area of concern because the state contracted services is just a high amount. We cannot get individual speech providers. So this is based on the number of children, because it's based on number of children, not just that it's 2 sites. These are 2 sites with large amounts of students that receive speech services.
All right.
Okay.
Miss-
Thank you.
Miss Christie Fields?
So is this the same contracted amount we voted on earlier?
The original amounts on here, and now you're seeing the difference between having them add additional schools.
No, so the contracts that were dropped,
Uh-huh.
those were contracts we had already voted on, that 674. We're not absorbing new money, we're just transferring.
We're transferring, but there's also additional students.
And this also has the preschools
Yes,
covered
so
too.
preschool program is also in this. So this is it's 2 contracts in one. It's preschool, Shining Stars, and then all of our regular EC students.
I guess so the question I'm
Yeah.
asking,
Mhm.
we're not, this is not new money. This is money we had already allocated earlier when we
Yes,
voted
we
on
already had,
contracts.
yes. It's money that's moving to this contract and from other contracts because of who they're serving. Yes.
All right. Mr. Terry Locklear, then Dr. Emmanuel.
So what do you mean the other company could no longer fulfill their contract?
They asked to no longer provide services for us. So we had to find another service provider. And once we did that, we asked all the service providers who would be available to have enough speech contractors to provide services. And this is the company that had the ability to provide those services.
So the other company essentially resigned?
Yes.
Dr. Emmanuel.
We approve this contract amendment.
Motion been on the floor to accept this contract amendment by Mr. Linda Emmanuel. Second be by Mr. Trey Britt. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Yes. Now we got the monthly financial report by Mr. Hugh Michelway.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, board members. In your packet, you had the January monthly financial report. Any questions or?
All right, we got Miss Christie Fields, then Miss Melissa Ocean.
In October, I asked about the monthly cost for maintenance for budget line item 802. It was at $1 million. It's still at $1 million. And so I'm just trying to figure out the monies that the county allots the district. It appears, and I could be wrong, that the bulk of that is absorbed in maintenance. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, the county appropriations does go into the local, and that does cover all the utilities, any service contracts, salaries for maintenance.
So
computer service.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So in October, when I brought that up, Erica explained that they had just paid large insurance premiums, but I'm still looking at $1 million every month
Okay.
in maintenance for the school district. So that's
I'll
the
get
kind of
back with you.
expense.
Pretty much, yes, ma'am. But I can get you what, are you asking more of a breakdown on that?
Yes, I'd like
Okay.
a breakdown. Also, I'd like to note to the board members that we are paying over $2 million in central office administration and local funds compared to, I think it's 1.2 million in state funds. I just wanted to, actually it's 1.4 million. Just want to notate that to our board members.
Miss Melissa Ocean.
And mine is a little bit simpler, Ms. Q. I have a question. As far as the contractors that we have that for transportation, are they paid out of a certain fund if they're working?
Yes, some are paid out of 060, some are paid out of transportation, 056. So it all depends on the services they're provided as to what funding it comes from.
Okay, and to that, are they able to, if you have buses that are down, are these people able to do transportation in place of the buses, in place of the bus routes?
I don't know what the contracts state on that part now.
Does
When you
anybody
say
know?
buses, so you mean our yellow buses?
Our yellow buses, because it's
No.
like, Yeah, Dr. Guzman, because this, every morning I'm getting calls about yellow buses being down for 2-3 days.
That's because, ma'am, we lose our mechanics to other places, including DOT. We are down, I believe, 5 mechanics at this point in time frame. And it does take us time to go ahead to be able to make sure that we do not only our 30-day inspections, but to make sure that the buses are safe on the roads.
Okay, so in place of that, are these contractors that we approve every
No,
month?
ma'am.
are they able to
Contract
do-
transportation is mainly used in case of exigent circumstances and or for EC purposes, McKinney-Ventnor and those type of cases. No, ma'am. If the bus driver is out, these are usually contract transportation is vans and
Mhm.
other forms of transportation, not yellow buses.
Okay, so, and we have no protocol for these kids getting to school?
We would do like anything else and double uploads, do what we can as far as making sure that other buses are able to pick them up. But that's a situation that's across the state with the driver shortages.
So I guess we need to make an announcement that I shouldn't be getting texts that say your school bus is not gonna run Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. You have to get your kids to school the best way you can.
Those are within that school going through. We try to make sure that all those schools are have the buses to be able to do. Staffing is not through my department as
I
far
know.
as that goes, ma'am. So they should have options. They can do double routes. They can do other things to be able to have. They should have some substitute bus drivers on their campus to be able to assist with those routes. I know during especially COVID, there was times in which teachers jumped on buses to be able to utilize that staff.
They did. Okay. So who's in charge of that, the making sure that happens? Because
Those are site-based, ma'am.
Site-based.
That is not dealt with through my department.
I know not your department, but who at central office deals with that? Were you? Okay, because it's starting to be extreme where kids are not getting to school for 2 or 3 days and the parents is getting a call at 6 o'clock at night saying, hey, you got to get your kid to school for the next 3 days. To me, that's extreme. And I was just trying to figure out, like, we have all these contractors that we're approving every month. I wanted to know what the extent of their contract was and if they could provide services, but now I know they can't. But something has to happen because we can't have these kids out of school. There's just there's no supervision. They're missing days of school. I get a call about one bus almost every day. If she can't get the kids to school, we need to find somebody else. It's starting to be excessive. I'm done.
All right, so we, the monthly finance report is anybody? Mrs. Trey Britt made a motion to approve the monthly financial report. Second by Mr. Craig Lowry. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's got unanimous. All right, now we're going to go to, again, we added the policy code 2335, advanced delivery of meeting materials. And at least 4 days prior to each regular or special board meeting, the superintendent should provide the following materials to each board member. The proposed agenda, the minutes from the previous meeting that's not been approved, and any support information and materials that would assist board members to become informed on issue proposed to the board consideration. Board members are expected to read the information that's provided to them. When necessary, board members should contact the superintendent to request additional information. Legal references, General Statute 115C-36. Also, we cross-reference with the board meeting agenda policy 2330.
Mr. Chairman and members, I am requesting to amend the policy to read at least 4 calendar days prior to our regular board meeting, please.
I make a motion to accept getting the board agenda out in 4 calendar days.
Motion been made by Ms. Melissa Ocean and second been made by Ms. Trey Britt to get the agenda out 4 calendar days. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? I can show of hands. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Hands up.
Aye.
Yeah, 4 days, 4 days, 4 calendar days. So it could be. All right. That's what he
Yes.
want, 4 calendar days.
Right, this will align our practice now of Friday, when you receive your package, 4 calendar days, meaning Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Right, then I made a note, we'll give board members a call to let them know that the package is going to be delayed. No.
All right, let's go by the show of hands. All in favor by the 4 calendar days, give me a vote by raising hands. All opposed, give me a vote by raising hands. Got 2 opposed to everybody else.
Who was the second opposed?
Christie and Terry. Everybody else approved it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Melissa. Ms. Melissa?
I move that the Board of Education for the Public Schools of Robeson County go into closed session for the purpose of discussing certified and classified personnel, North Carolina General Statutes 143 through 318.11A1 and 6, and to consult with the attorney retained by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the Board of Education for the Public Schools of Robeson County, North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A13.
Got a second. Second being, motion going to closed session by Ms. Melissa Ocean, a second by Ms. Bradley Phillips. All in favor? All right, go to closed session. A motion been made by Ms. Melissa Ocean, come out of closed session. I know, but still gotta do it out front, don't you? Okay, good. Yeah, and second by Mr. Bradley Phillips, all in favor? All opposed? All right, motion to approve closed session minutes. Hold on, Mr. John.
When we get to the personnel report, I want to rescue myself from it due to the fact I have a relative on there.
Okay, thank you. Then we got a motion to approve the closed session minutes by Mr. Bradley Phillips. So we get a second by Ms. Melissa Ocean. All in favor? All opposed? Now we got a motion to approve classified certified personnel as presented. Mr. John has excused himself. A motion been made by Ms. Melissa Ocean. A second been made by Mr. Trey Britt. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes got it. Motion to open session, motion to close session. What did you do? Quick announcement. We got an announcement by Mr. All right. Yeah. You go ahead.
Okay, just need to announce a change in the settlement agreement with an additional payment from the Jewel multi-district litigation. The district has now received a third Jewel settlement payment, a fourth payment from the JLI settlement program. This is the third payment from Jewel in that program for the amount of $48,487.89.
All right, thank you. Also, I would like to announce Girls in STEM, you are invited. You're cordially invited to attend the Girls in STEM Empowerment Conference. That's March 11th, 2025 from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. at UNC Pembroke at James A. Thomas Hall. So you're invited to the Girls in STEM. Also would like to announce, that our work session is going to be Friday, February the 21st from 12 p.m. to 5. Lunch will be served at 12. So we'll start approximately about 12:45, but lunch will be served at noon. Also, would like to say my apologies. I want to, Mr. Henry is out. Mr. Henry, I didn't announce that, but he's out with his sickness. He's home recovering. Please remember him. That's it. We get Dr. Williamson.
Yes, if I may, to our finance chair and construction chair, we need to schedule this budget time. We talked today about some possible dates. You want to throw those dates out? March the 10th or the 17th.
Mr. Terry, we would need to, Mr. Terry, we need to get with the cabinet to see what's a good day for we can schedule, curriculum meeting. We need to meet with the cabinet, just talk to the cabinet to see what's good days for them, for everybody can schedule your curriculum meeting. All right. Mr. Trey Britt. Mr. Craig, you got something?
We'll send those dates out tomorrow to everybody.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, or can we go ahead and discuss it now? I was gonna say March 10th is good with me, because that's before our next board meeting too, if we got anything we need to add to the agenda.
All right. Is March 10th good with everybody?
I'm fine with March.
Go ahead. Mr. Terry, you got the question?
Yeah, can we go ahead and schedule the curriculum committee meeting? I mean, the cabinet's here.
Would you need I think the cabinet probably look at the schedule. Can they call you tomorrow, give you a couple of dates when they look at the schedule? To
Tomorrow,
make sure?
absolutely. I'll be looking forward to it. Thank you.
They'll call you tomorrow. Can you call Mr. Terry tomorrow, give him a couple of dates for the curriculum meeting? Yeah. All right. Mr. Craig?
The finance and construction is 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, or is that too early? What's that? Can we do 5? No? But we okay with 5? Yeah. Okay, let's do that at 5 then.
Got it.
March 10th, 5 o'clock.
Ms. Melissa? We got motion been made by Ms. Melissa Ocean to adjourn. We got a second by Ms. Krista Fields. All in favor?
Aye.